This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you I'll be back this evening. May not be a super long show, but it'll be a show nonetheless. I wanted to check in tonight because I'm likely not going to be able to check in this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. If I do, it'll be something very, very, very short. So I want to check in this weekend because Jalen Brunson may be back this weekend versus either Atlanta or the Phoenix Suns. And I want to know from you, how does that change your perception of this Knicks team right now? Because since Jalen Brunson's been out, the Knicks are like 13-9, still a winning record. You know, I mean, that's kind of a, mediocre, I guess, but still a winning record. You would have hoped that the Knicks have enough firepower on this team to, I guess, you know what? I said that they were going to be 500 without Jalen Brunson. And they're a little better than 500 without Jalen Brunson. So I guess I can't complain too much about that. But with his return, if he were to return this weekend, what does that mean to you? How much better does that make this Knicks team? He would have been out for about a month. He should practice, according to reports, he should practice tomorrow, I guess, and get a chance, possibly, depending on how practice goes, get a chance to play on Saturday or Sunday. Right, Kevin, you said we need him. We need him to knock the rust off for a playoff run, for the playoffs. I definitely agree there, right? The Knicks need Jalen Brunson back so they can not only knock off the rust, but begin to, build that chemistry again. Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns. Brunson's body should be kind of fresh. Think about it. His body should be kind of fresh. Which is actually a good thing. So the Knicks are actually 8-7 during this time. I'm not sure where. Excuse me. I said 13-8. The Knicks are 8-7 during this time. The Brunson's been out since March 6th. They played 15 games. They're 8-7. They were 8-6 before. So they've played 500 basketball, as expected. Without Brunson, they've averaged 110.9 points per game. They've shot 46.6% from the field. They've shot 35.9% from three. Right? I mean, that's the 13th best record in the league without Jalen Brunson, and I guess that's what you would expect without Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is an All-NBA player. Any team that loses their best player, loses an All-NBA player, you're not going to be as good. That's just what happens. With Jalen Brunson coming back, if he comes back this weekend, first of all, I just want to see him get in game shape. I'm pretty sure he's been, trying to stay in shape. He'll get a chance to practice. They'll monitor his practice, see how, see what he's doing, and then see if he has a chance to get out there. he will need to get back into game shape, though, of course. I mean, a month away from the basketball game, that's a lot. Fred said, Sim, I know you disagree, but when healthy, we have a championship roster. It all comes down to Tibbs coaching. I just don't think we have a championship roster. See, here's my thing, Fred. I don't think 30-point blowouts come down to coaching. I think 30-point blowouts come down to one team has a better roster. They have better players. I think coaching comes down to when you're in those tight moments, the decisions that you make. Now, could a 30-point blowout be because of decisions you made earlier? It could. But I think for the most part, 30-point blowouts come because you have the team is better. 30-point blowouts from OKC, 30-point blowouts from Cleveland. Listen, from Cleveland last night, I consider that a 30-point blowout. And I know the Knicks are down 4 players and no Jalen Brunson. I consider that a 30-point blowout. The Knicks had a 15-point lead at some point in that basketball game, and they lose by 19. That's a 34-point swing. When the Cleveland Cavaliers decided to turn it up, there was nothing the Knicks could do. To me, that was a 30-point blowout to me. You know? That's just the way that I see it. So to me, coaching comes down to those critical decisions to help you win the basketball game when it's tight. Right? You know, when you're getting blown out because the other team is better, there aren't many decisions that your team is going to be able to make that changes the game, because that team is just better. The team is just 30 points better. They just have better players. They're just a better team. So that's the reason why I don't agree that the Knicks have a championship roster. Because against those teams, they just couldn't do it. Now, I'm sure there are teams that are not as good as the Knicks who competed better against Cleveland and Boston and OKC. I'm positive. And that doesn't mean that they're a championship team either. They can match up better against those teams or whatever it is. I don't know. I just feel like, you know, with the Knicks, you know, and those teams might lose to a bunch of other teams, but somehow show up against those teams. It happens like that. I feel like the Knicks, you know, they beat these other teams and they can't beat them. And I feel like to me, it's maybe roster construction, not enough depth, all of that. So I don't think this is the championship roster. That's how I feel about it. Kevin said, let's not act like Tibbs isn't outcoached on most nights. I think our talent is saving Tibbs right now. I mean, he could be. You know, that's going to be, you know, if that's what you want to say, I guess. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. On most nights, the Knicks win. Not during Jalen Brunson's absence. Has been 50-50. But on most nights throughout the season, the Knicks win the basketball game. Enough to be one of the top 5 teams in the league for most of the season. That's undeniable. That's pretty much a fact. Right? So if you want to say he gets outcoached most nights, okay. I mean, with Jalen Brunson, the Knicks, hold on. Let me get my dates right, so I'm not lying to you. With Jalen Brunson, the Knicks were 40-22. One of the top, you know, tied with the Denver Nuggets for one of the top 5 teams in the league, half game below the Los Angeles Lakers. The teams that they couldn't beat were all ahead of them: Cleveland, Oklahoma, Boston, and the Lakers. So on most nights, with Jalen Brunson in tow, on most nights, the Knicks won basketball games. That's what I see. And I mean, that's what the fact is. That's factual information. That's not made up. It's all factual information. So I don't, if you want to say that it was the talent that was winning, okay. That's up for debate. I don't agree. I do believe that coaching plays a part when you have a team that has a winning record, a top 5 team in the league. To me, coaching plays a part, a big part. I just don't think we have a championship roster. I think we need more on this basketball team to have a championship roster. That's my opinion. I mean, there was a point in time in the season when they were talking about the Knicks having one of the best offenses ever. Ever. I'm sorry, the players don't do that by themselves. If we had Jason Kidd on this basketball team, okay, maybe you could say, well, no, Jason Kidd did that. We have Jason Kidd on this basketball team. And that's not a lie. That's the truth. Right? Because Jason Kidd, when Jason Kidd was the point guard for the Knicks, he did a lot of what you saw out there on the floor. He orchestrated a lot of that. A lot of it. We don't have that kind of player on this basketball team. You know what I mean? We don't. Without Jalen Brunson, ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks have a 113.1 offensive rating. Their net rating is 2.7, just, a little over 2 points above winning. So, people can say what they want. That's cool. I get it. The facts are the facts, though. The facts are the facts. For most of the season, the Knicks have been winning on most nights with Tom Thibodeau as the coach. You can say it's talent. Last season, on most nights, the Knicks were winning. I guess you could say that was talent, too, although most people agree that this team has a higher ceiling than last season's team. When Tom Thibodeau took over and they won 41 games, I guess it was, on most nights they were winning. I guess you could say that was talent too, if you want to. To me, the proof is in the pudding. If you don't like Tom Thibodeau, that's cool. I get it. You may feel that he's outcoached on most nights because you don't think he makes the decisions that you would make. I get it. And that's all cool. But let's not deny the facts that are out there. And let's not mistake opinion for fact. Those are two very different things. A lot of people look at their opinion and assume that their opinion is fact, or say that their opinion is fact when it's really an opinion. Facts are things that do not change. Well, I guess some facts change over time, and when things grow and change and develop and all that kind of stuff, right? But when you have a fact, it's a fact. It's you can point to it in black and white. It's on paper. And the fact is the Knicks were 40-22 up until the point that Jalen Brunson got hurt. That's a fact. Facts are that Tom Thibodeau changed, and this regime changed this franchise, turned this franchise around. That's a fact. You dig what I'm saying? Those things are factual informations. Opinions are different. Opinions are different than fact. I see in the chat all the time people say, Tom Thibodeau gets out coached. Facts. Tom Thibodeau this, facts. Tom Thibodeau that, facts. No, those are your opinions. If you want to say Tom Thibodeau subbed Jalen Brunson or put Jalen Brunson back in the game when the Knicks were on a run, that might be a fact. If that's what happened, that's a fact. If you want to say Tom Thibodeau made a substitution, and when he made that substitution, the team's shooting percentage went down, that's a fact. Right? That's a fact. So let's not mistake facts for opinions. Fred said 2 all-star starters, 2 all-NBA players, defensive team players. Did we have somebody make the defensive team this year? I don't think that's come out yet. But Mr. Do-It-All, Josh Hart, backup point guard that plays defense and shoots. What more do you want? We have it all except the coaching. Our defense sucks. We don't have it all. Just because you have 2 players or you have players that you think will be on the defensive team. Maybe one will. Maybe OG will be on the defensive team, maybe. But that's a team sport, though. Your team has to be able to coordinate together on the defensive end. And when you have 1 or 2 players that miss assignments, even if they're given the correct assignment, miss the assignment, that bungles up the entire defense, bro. Right? That messes up the entire defense. And right now, our defense. Now, if you want to disagree with Tom Thibodeau's defensive scheme, you can. Sure. Go ahead. If you want to say that Tom Thibodeau's defensive scheme is what leads us to being the worst 3-point defending team in the league, I can support that argument. Right? I can support that argument without a doubt. But that's not the only part of the defense. But I can support that argument. Or you can support that argument. You know? I'm just pointing to what is factual information. And for a majority of this season, the Knicks have been way above a 500 ball club. Way above. You know what I mean? Way above a 500 ball club. And that's a fact. That is a true actual fact. Without Jalen Brunson, the Knicks have been, a 500 ball club. And that's a fact. Tom Thibodeau hasn't gotten the Knicks out of the second round since he's been the coach. That's a fact. Tom Thibodeau has gotten the Knicks to the playoffs 3 of the 4 years that he's been here. Not just Tom Thibodeau, obviously the team. That's also a fact. Just saying, let's look at the facts. And let's not mistake our opinions for facts. That's all I'm saying. Because our opinions are not facts. But anyway, Jalen Brunson could return this weekend. Right? Jalen Brunson could return this weekend. If he returns this weekend, you're going to see the lineup look different, I guess. He'll be back in the starting lineup. Who knows what his minutes would be like? Who knows if he'll have any kind of a minutes restriction? I'm sure he'll play the amount of minutes that are necessary so that he can, be eligible for the All-NBA team and all that good stuff. He'd have time to play, he'd have time. 7 games left to the season. He needs to play in 4 more games to be eligible to be All-NBA. You know what I mean? We'll see. But lineup changes. Excuse me. You didn't hear that, but excuse me. Lineup changes will definitely happen. I would expect that Tyler Kolek, he could still play because Campaign might still be out. Deuce might still be out. So maybe Tyler would still play. Obviously, what's his name? Delon Wright would go to the second unit, or JB is in the starting lineup. Because Deuce isn't there, Kolick would probably still, because Deuce and Cam isn't there, Kolick would probably still play. You know, once you get Deuce and you get Cam back, you would expect that Dalen Wright and Tyler Kolick would, you know, exit the rotation. Yeah, Kevin, thank you. Fred, yes, you know, allergies start to, you know what I'm saying? It was 81 degrees here in Maryland today. It's been like that for the past couple of days, you know, so things are growing. Allergies are starting to act crazy. And there's a very, very high pollen count in Maryland. I'm going to tell you, I never had allergies until I moved to Maryland. Once I moved to Maryland, all of a sudden I had allergies. Now I was like, what the heck is happening here? What's going on? Because the pollen count is mad high. It's crazy. You know, and my body never really got used to it, to be honest with you. JJ said, fans will start crying about Kolick again soon. Probably. People will start crying about Kolick and saying that he should be playing and he should be on the court. And, you know, to be honest with you, he's earned some minutes outside of, you know, a few minutes at least outside of situational. I can say that. You know what I mean? You know, I think that he's earned the right to get some playoff experience. You know? I doubt that's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? I doubt that's going to happen, but you know, Fred said the same. Diaz said the same in VA. Fred said the same in South Carolina. Yeah. You know, just as far as, you know, the pollen count and all that stuff is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But Jalen Brunson, ladies and gentlemen, he's eyeing a weekend return. You know, if you look at the little the report that Diaz put out here, Knicks star Jalen Brunson to practice for the first time Friday, and is expected to be ruled questionable for Saturday. And obviously, questionable is an upgrade for Jalen Brunson. You know, if you know that's an upgrade. You know, I'm excited for him to be back. I think now here's the things that I don't want. I cut myself off. I started talking about what I want to see if Brunson comes back. You know, I want to see him get in shape, get in game shape. You know, start to rework that chemistry with Karl Anthony Towns. You know what I mean? Here's what I don't want to see, though. I don't want to see Brunson dominating the ball on every possession. I don't want to see 5 or 6 shots in a row that's just Brunson. Right? Now, from the beginning, he won't do that. Most players aren't going to do that from the beginning. Right? So he's going to come back and you know, start to work himself back into the offense. Once he gets into the flow of the offense, though, you know, I don't want to see him, you know, just, you know, going one-on-one 5, 6 times in a row. Sitting on the bench, he should have been able to see what OG can do. I want to see some gameplay between him and OG. I want to see gameplay between him and Karl Anthony Towns. I want to see gameplay between Cat and OG. Right? I want to see Brunson be able to relax a little bit and let OG take care of business while he's resting, while Brunson is resting. Right? This is going to preserve his energy for when the Knicks really need him to go one-on-one, right? Because there will come a time. He's our best one-on-one player, no doubt about it. There will come a time when the Knicks need him to go one-on-one. It doesn't have to be the entire game, though. You know, you're going to get, because, you know, you got to get in rhythm. So you're going to get those chances throughout the game. But then in the fourth quarter, you know what I'm saying, you do what you got to do. Even in the fourth quarter, though, you don't want, it doesn't have to be dominant Brunson. Unless no one else is doing anything and you just feel like you got to take the game and put the game on your back. But we need him to preserve his energy for those nights. You know what I mean? Preserve your energy for those nights. So I want to see Brunson and Tom Thibodeau utilize OG. You know what I'm saying? Utilize Karl Anthony Towns. Utilize those guys more. All right. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns is going to be utilized. You know, OG's been averaging a high number of shots since Brunson's been out. I'm not saying he has to average 20 shots per game, but keep his usage rate high. The Knicks can have success that way by allowing him to have a higher usage rate. You know, this gives you I think OG has shown that he is a legitimate, super legitimate third option. Legitimate third option. So, yeah, I agree. You know, Tom Thibodeau has to make sure that he's utilizing OG Anunoby. Right? And I also agree with something that I seen Kevin just say, that Tibbs should scheme to take advantage of mismatches. Tibbs' offense doesn't do that. It's kind of, here's the offense that we run. This is what we do, right? And, you know, you find your spots within that offense and then you get what you get out of it. He doesn't normally take advantage of mismatches that are out there on the floor. And there are nights when there's mismatches on the floor. There are. And yes, I agree. Tom Thibodeau needs to do a better job taking advantage of those mismatches. That'll make this Knicks offense better. And the Knicks have pieces, I believe, to take advantage of mismatches. They do. You know what I'm saying? Brunson's our best player. Brunson's one of the best players in the league. There's going to be a mismatch a lot of nights with Brunson out there. Right? It's going to be a lot of nights. Karl Anthony Towns, it's going to be a lot of nights. You know, with Brunson, where he's got a mismatch on him. And there have been nights. Now, here's also, there have been plenty of times when we've seen Karl Anthony Towns posting up a smaller guy, calling for it, and the players on the floor did not recognize the mismatch. Goes both ways. Goes both ways. You know what I mean? Goes both ways. So, you know, we'll see how this looks when Brunson comes back. Hopefully this weekend. Captain Clutch. Seeing on your screen, printjurisdiction.com. Only place you can get that hoodie you see on your screen right now. Only place. It's printjurisdiction.com. So make sure you go check that out. Right? Kevin said, say what you want about Brunson. He's the only player I'm not worried about in the playoffs. That's the truth. You're not worried about Brunson in the playoffs. Brunson is coming to play. Brunson is coming to put in work. He's going to. And, you know, listen, Brunson stays in decent shape. He'll come back. He'll need a couple of games to get in shape. And then, you know, you'll start seeing Brunson really do his thing. I mean, you know, he may have one of them games. A lot of times when you come back from injury, that first game back, you're like, you're ready to rock and you're hot. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it takes a couple of games for you to, you know, hit a little bit of a slump. Don't be surprised if Brunson comes back, plays a couple of games well, and then hits a mini slump before the playoffs. But when the playoffs come, Brunson is going to show up. There's no doubt about that. You know what I mean? There's no doubt about that. Real King said, can JB play 40 minutes in playoff time? Let's see what that ankle is like. You know what I mean? Let's see what that ankle is like. We'll get a barometer over these next 7 games, 6 to 7 games. If he, well, I'm assuming he's going to come back this weekend. You know what I mean? You need those 6 to 7 games to really get in shape, knock off the rust, get that chemistry back with the team. You got Mitchell Robinson out there now. Find that Mitchell Robinson and Brunson, before Brunson went out, were developing some nice chemistry together. Get that thing developing, which is going to hopefully extend the offense or provide more options for the offense. We haven't had a rim runner out there on the floor. Right now, we don't have anybody that can find our rim runner. Maybe Tyler can find him. You know what I mean? But if we get that thing going with Brunson. But the thing with Tyler is, he's not that much of a threat right now on the offensive side. So, if he's coming off of a mid screen, there may not be the commitment to Tyler yet. You know what I'm saying? With Tibbs, obviously, there's going to be with JB, there's going to be the commitment, which can open up Mitch. And then when it starts to open up Mitch, people start to suck in on Mitch, and now it opens up the perimeter. So, you know what I mean? So that's a piece of the offense we haven't really got to see develop. Hopefully over the next 7 games, we get to see that develop a little bit more. So these next 7 games, while the Knicks may, lock in that 3rd seed, they're still going to be important in just developing that chemistry with the players, at full strength, at super full strength. Hopefully we'll have 6 games of the Knicks at full strength. We have not seen this team at full strength yet this season. If we can get Deuce back, we can get Cam back, we can get Mitch back. We got Mitch back, we get Brunson back. We can see this team at full strength for at least 6 games, and then hopefully in that first round they get some games in during that first round to build some more chemistry. If we can end it early, we get some practice together. The Knicks need some practice together. You know what I'm saying? And then we can, get ready for what's next. But, these next 6 games will be important for the Knicks, regardless of seeding. Not even about the seeding, just about who they are as a basketball team, coming together as a basketball team. You know what I mean? Fred said we shouldn't need 40 minutes from JB in the first round. I hope not. That's the truth. We shouldn't need 40 minutes from him in the first round. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping in that first round we can come out here and take care. We took care of Milwaukee without JB. You know what I'm saying? We can come in, we can take care of business, get some more rest, get some more practice heading into that second round. But, the playoffs are a different animal. And if we're facing off against the Bucks, they still have Giannis out there. You know what I'm saying? They still have Giannis, and one player can change a lot. Right now, actually, we're slated to play the Pistons, so we don't know how that whole thing is going to end up below us. We don't know how it's going to end up with us and the Pacers. I'm assuming the Knicks are going to lock down that 3rd seed over the next few games. But we could play the Pistons or the Bucks. Right now, they're going back and forth. Right now, the Bucks are in the 5th seed. They're both 42 and 34, so I guess the Bucks have the tiebreaker over the Detroit Pistons. So they're in the 5th seed. We're going to see how that entire thing plays out. And, we'll know over the next week and a half. Fred, you said, when is Deuce coming back? I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. I'll be paying attention just like you'll be paying attention to find out when Deuce will be coming back. I could tell you what, I feel positive that we'll be back full strength for the playoffs. I'm hoping that we can get back full strength over these next 6 games or so that we can, just build that chemistry. You know what I'm saying? We can become more cohesive. You know what I mean? I'm gonna tell you what the good thing is gonna be when the season ends. There's going to be about a week for the team to rest and practice. Prepare and practice. That's going to be beautiful for this basketball team. To be able to get a week. It's that's almost like, training camp is like 2 weeks long. That's almost like a training camp at the end of the season. You ain't got to run the guys. Do just enough to keep their wind up. You know what I'm saying? But you get, however much time before the playoffs begin. The playoffs begin, I think, April 19th. I think the playoffs begin. When the season ends on April 11th, April 13th, the season ends for the Knicks versus the Brooklyn Nets. So you got 5 days. The Knicks could play on the 19th or the 20th. You know what I'm saying? So you got about 5 days to prepare, to rest, to practice. That'll be major for this basketball team, in my opinion. Major for this team. And it's something that they need, so they can practice, sit back and watch the playing. They'll know because of where they're seated, they'll know where they're playing. They'll know who they're playing because of where they're seated. So, they'll easily be able to prepare. Some of your like first and second seeds, they'll they got to wait a little bit longer to know who they're preparing for. You know what I mean? So the Knicks will be in a good situation. And obviously the team that the Knicks are playing will be in the same good situation. They'll have a chance to practice and prepare and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm hoping JB returns this weekend. He's going to practice on Friday, and we'll get a chance to see. We'll get a chance to hopefully see him this weekend. But ladies and gentlemen, I just want to jump on quick. Talk about JB coming back, what it means for the team. You know what I mean? Obviously, we know what it means we're getting our star back, all-NBA guy back. Starting all-star starter back, like Fred Wong said. It means that some guys might go back to being situational, if not immediately, soon as like when Deuce and everybody comes back. It means we get another clutch player on the floor. It means we get the centerpiece of our offense back. It means we get a leader out there on the floor. For so long, over this last month, we've been playing without a leader, and it's been recognizable. We get the guy that can settle everything down. How many times did we see Brunson this year when the Knicks started slow? He single-handedly kept the Knicks in the game. Right? We get that guy where the Knicks it's just not going smooth. He finds a way to keep the team in the game, gets the team to the line, keeps the team motivated. We get that guy back out there on the floor. Big, because so many games during this 15-game stretch, I felt the Knicks didn't have or show that heart. Brunson always plays with heart and shows that heart. You know what I mean? So you get that leader back out there. It's necessary for this basketball team. I want to see him and Tibbs utilize his offensive weapons out there on the floor. Utilize OG. You seen what OG's been doing over the last 15 games. Utilize that. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. We're going to head up out of here. Try to get rested up, get these allergies out of my system and all of that kind of stuff. I appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. If I don't get a chance to see you over the weekend, have a great weekend. About. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench.